All right, so this has been my new project for a few days. Kind of sucks. I'm already tired of messing with it. I am not a carpenter by any means. This is the, Pergo style flooring. This has been done for a long time, but the dining room has been bare concrete because I was planning on doing ceramic tile in here, and I don't have a tile saw, and I've never done ceramic tile before. I've watched videos, so it looks easy enough, but the house needs finished, trimmed, so I just decided to try to, at least finish the dining room area. It's turned into a mess because this part of the wall, they wallpapered it, and they did not paint the walls when they done the mud work, so they just put the wallpaper directly over it. So when you try to remove it, I've tried everything, every video I watch, people telling me what to try. All it does is remove the face of the sheetrock because the stuff is stuck directly to it. Had they have painted that, I could have got it off a little easier. But this turned into a mess. It was like 2 days right here just trying to get the sheetrock off of this without destroying the sheetrock completely. But what I've decided to do, I think, is put corrugated tin here, kind of go with the, I don't know, country theme, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. Again, not a carpenter, don't really care. I thought about doing corrugated tin on this part of the bay area, the two angled walls in the center piece here, and then trimming around the windows and everything. I went down to Lowe's and checked on the tin, and the tin's like $25 a sheet, and it's probably going to take, I don't know, 5 sheets, 6 sheets, so that's going to have to wait. Pretty much blew out the budget. I thought I was pretty much done buying the planks, but I'm going to end up needing another box, and that's pretty much going to be about it for me for a little bit. So I do need to go down to Lowe's and get another box so I can finish that side. I've got a few planks left, but I just don't have enough to finish. But no more bare concrete over here. And once I get this done, I can, get the baseboards up, which I still need baseboards too. I don't have any more of that. I worked on this wall. It's been a couple years ago now. This was what we had in our head we wanted to do. And again, I'm not a carpenter, but this is what we ended up doing right here. This is actually 1x, whatever width they are. There's, I think, 3 or 4 different widths of wood. And there's, I think, 3 different styles of wood or kinds of wood. We got poplar, cedar, and I think pine, if I remember right. But I started hand picking the planks, and we went to 4 or 5 different box stores trying to find the best stuff. And I settled on quite a few boards I found that I fell in love with the wood design in them. Like this one, the way it has that insert in it, I thought was pretty cool. This one had some really awesome grain to it. Fell in love with that one. We did 4 different stains, and we didn't distress them or clear them or anything. We just put them up there, and we love it. So, and that's all that matters, if we like it. But now it's like when you walk in the front door, this is what you see, and I just absolutely love it. But we really blew our budget when we did that. This one up here, it had a knot in it, and when I was cutting the board, the knot fell out, so I ended up going in there with a die grinder and built a little area I put a silver dollar in there and siliconed it in from the back side, so I thought that was pretty neat. But I got rid of it had a really tiny little brick fireplace in it. It was really cheesy, so we took it out. I built a surround for it. I still have to put some sheet metal in there for steel on the sides, on the inside edges. But I've got new switches to put in and covers. And, I just need to finish all the trim work. There's not even baseboards done at the bottom of it. So I would like to get all this area finished in the house. And then our refrigerator that I bought in 2002 started leaking at the back of it. And I pulled it out from the wall, started messing with it, and I had to order a part, and I hope it fixes it. But it's just one of them deals where you run into something happening and something else will happen. Something always follows, but it's always a mess. But that's what's going on. That's what I've been working on, is the house. That's why you haven't seen any videos from me. It's just, this is not the interesting stuff to me, because I'm a car guy. So today is March 10th, 2022. This is Thursday. So I haven't really done a lot of work to the hardtop. I've done some little stuff. I've done more stainless steel trim work. I've actually put a couple of pieces of stainless on the quarter window area. And that's about it. Been messing with the house. So I got quite a bit of stuff I need to get going here, but I'm going to show you something that should keep me from getting 10 million trash particles in my paint, hopefully. So right here in these 3 boxes, big one on the bottom, 2 separate ones here, this is an inflatable paint booth, and these are the 2 blowers. This is a monstrous paint booth. This thing is 28 foot long, and 4 foot of it is an inside paint mixing station that has the door to come into it and all that. It has big filters. These are 950 watt blowers, 2 of them. So that should be pretty cool. And then there's a tarp and some rope and some extra tie downs. I think it comes with some more tie downs and stuff. But that should be the answer to my prayers right there. But hopefully no longer will I have to paint in this garage and get the paint smell in the house and, you know, get my wife's asthma fired up. So should be pretty cool. So this paint booth was pretty much a trade, kind of. This was on Amazon, and I think it was right around 1,300 bucks. But I basically sold an old KZ750 that I had here to a buddy of mine that's been dying for that bike for a couple of years, and it's tax time for him, and he was getting money back, so he was more than happy to come over and get that bike. So I basically sold the motorcycle and turned around and got a inflatable paint booth. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now that I'm not trying to get the hardtop ready for a car show, I've got time, and that's why I kind of wanted to work on the house. I need to repaint the house on the outside. The wood, you know, the paint's starting to get pretty faded, nasty looking. So just some stuff I wanted to do. It's spring fever time, you know, this is what I like to do during the spring. I've got, I have a Monte Carlo SS that's been sitting in the backyard right out in the open for, like, all the neighbors. That's all they see when they come outside of their house. So I've been needing to put it in my fenced area over here. So I will have room if I get the chassis for the 4-door out of there. So this is kind of the new plan right here. So if you were following along, I was trying to get the hardtop ready for a car show. So I pushed my wife's 4-door 55 out here, and I'd put a waterproof lined cover on it. And I just left it out here under the carport. It's been out here for over a month. So I pulled the cover off a few days back, and I was actually checking to see how much rust was on it, because I just knew, you know, from moisture being in the air, it would have rust on it. But to my surprise, I know there's some there, but I was going to sand the entire car down with 80 grit again anyway. But to my surprise, it's not as rusty as I thought it would be. This area right here is actually factory primer. I never get all sanded off, and along the rocker down there too. Now this right here is actually rust from my fingerprints, but you know, a lot of the car I'd used a 40 grit disc. You can really see it on the roof. And then I only started, I think I did this quarter with 80 and maybe half the trunk. I think the other side still needs 80, but I was planning on going back with 80 on the whole car to smooth off that 40 grit rough, you know, finish. But I just never finished it, and that's why I really didn't care if it did get oxidation on it, because I'm going to go over everything anyway before I put epoxy on it. Now, I'd started doing body work on this. I got a lot of body work done on the firewall. There's still a few more little areas. I got the body work finished on the dash, and this was all crushed in down here, and I did some pulling on it and got it out pretty good, and I wiped a whole bunch of filler on it. I went at it with 80, but I've still got to do 120 and take a lot more of it down. But there's areas of filler back here I never even sanded, and I think there's a few areas on the other side I never even sanded the filler. So my new plan is, springtime is 2 weeks away, and when springtime comes around here in Oklahoma, we get a ton of rain. We also get a lot of tornado alerts, so we have wind that blows the rain sideways, so it's going to end up blowing this cover off. So my idea is to go ahead and finish the body work that I started, which the car needs more body work, but I want to go ahead and get epoxy primer on the car. The other problem I have is, I'll just take you out here and show you, in my fenced area here that I call my junkyard. I have the chassis for this 4-door sitting here, and I'd already restored it. So the rear end was high gloss black, and the control arms were high gloss black, and they are now completely chalked out. The chassis, which is that cheap Rust-Oleum, $18 a quart, I think I used 2 quarts. Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement paint. I think it was semi-gloss black or something like that. It still looks fantastic. But the gloss black that I used, which was actually POR 15, and that stuff, I knew it didn't hold up to sunlight, but I didn't think it would do it this soon, which the reality is this has been out here for a few months. But anyway, I need to get this out of the sun. And the reason that I didn't put a cover on it is I covered a chassis that I fully restored. I had the engine trans in it and everything, and it was running. And I put clear plastic on the chassis, and it was out there for like 4 or 5 months outside. And I went to take the plastic off of it one day, and the whole bottom of that plastic was condensated. It had water all over it. Everything that was aluminum on the car was chalked out white and corroded. It fried a bunch of stuff. The wheel front brake calipers were seized because they got moisture to them. So I decided not to cover it and just leave it out in the open. So I guess either way it's a no-win situation really, but which I don't really care. This car's not getting mirrors under it to show, so I'm not worried about it. But I am going to try to go ahead and polish the A-arms and the rear end with maybe some, you know, compound or something. See if I can get a little bit of shine back out of it. But anyway, that's pretty much that. Now, I would like to go ahead and put the chassis under the body, and that way I can put the body with the chassis together, and I can move the hardtop back over, move this stuff out, and I can get the 4-door back in here with the hardtop like I had it before. And then, you know, when I go to work on the hardtop, I can push the 4-door out, is what I used to do. So before I put the chassis under the body, what I have decided to do, you know, I obviously want to get the body work finished up that I want to finish. Now, the car's going to need lots more, but I just want to finish what I started and get it epoxied. But before I put the chassis under it, I'm going to go ahead and go for paint, and like do all the finish work and everything. And I'm going to paint all of the whole front section of the car up here. That way I can go ahead and put it on the chassis, and I won't have to pull it back off or raise it up and plastic off everything to paint the firewall. If you've never painted a firewall on a 55 or 6 Chevy, they have the same firewalls. They are a nightmare. These are painted body killer, and there is really nowhere to tape break one of these. I've always painted the firewall with the rest of the car, so for me it's been difficult trying to figure out a tape break, but I think I have it figured out. So the new plan is to finish out sanding the bodywork that's on the car, and of course I'll have to finish out the firewall, but the majority of the firewall's finished. But I'm going to go ahead and go for paint on the forward section of the car, so I'm going to remove the doors and put those in my shed. But so I'm going to go ahead and paint the firewall, the top of the cowl, the sides of the cowl, all of this jamb area, and the dash all at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and paint the A-pillar and all the way up. But here is where I found I'm going to tape break it, and I think it's going to work pretty awesome. So where the cowl is put onto the rocker, this sets on top. So right here is a perfect tape break. So I'll tape right here, and then I'll paint from there up. It comes down and it's raised up off the rocker right here, so I can tape off the rocker here. But anyway, when I go back to paint the car later, I can tape off what I painted green right here, and then all this I can just blend in the green, you know what I mean? I don't think a tape line will be detectable. Well, I know it won't. But anyway, the other part I was having trouble with was trying to find the other tape break, and I think I found it. I'm gonna do it right here. This is a factory seam right here that's leaded, but they didn't lead it under here. So I'm going to put the tape right across this and just straight up. Now when I paint this car, it's going to be a sea mist green color. It's like a pale pastel 50s green, but the roof's going to be shoreline beige. I'm going to do from the drip rail over shoreline beige. So the bottom of the drip rail will be painted shoreline beige. Right here where it's spot welded to the body, there's a gap right here. So this will be my two-tone brake. The drip rail itself will be beige. This will be the green. So I'm going to put tape right here and just straight up to it. So this will be the only detectable paint line areas right here. So that's my plan. I can live with a little 3/8 line, you know, tape line right here. I don't care. So basically this right here, all of the A-pillar and all the jamb and hinges, The side of the cowl, top of the cowl, all of the dash, and the firewall is going to get painted green. And then I'll raise it up in the air, set it down on the body with new mounts, and then at that point, I don't have to remove the chassis, and I've got full access to paint all this without the chassis in my way. If you've ever tried to paint a firewall in one of these cars with the chassis on it, it's a pain. If you are stuck and you have to do that and your car's all apart like this, I would recommend putting wooden blocks up underneath, like right here on these body mounts, like big thick wooden blocks or something to space it up off the chassis. That way you can lay plastic across there and you've got enough space up off of it where you can get paint underneath here. But I hate straddling the frame rails. It's a pain, especially with a full-size gun. So I'm going to go ahead and try to paint it here on the cart. So that's a new plan. Finish the bodywork that I've started, finish out the firewall and everything up here, and seam seal it. I need to seam seal everything with all new sealer. I still need to pull the seam sealer off right here, but that's the plan. And then I'll prime it and go for paint. But anyway, I'm going to be two-toning it for the A-pillar. I didn't cover that. My two-tone line is going to come right off the edge right here at a hard angle down this way because I've got those Bel Air stainless covers that go on here, so it'll hide my tape line here. So I'll run that tape straight down here. So this part right here will be the green. That'll be tan. But anyway, that's the plan, guys. And, you know, in my mind, I always think I can do that in a week. And we all know that ain't going to work because it's weather permitting for me, especially when I paint that. I'm just going to paint it right there. I don't care because the car's not a show car. So I'm just going to paint it all right there in the driveway, which the paint jobs always turn out better right here than they do in the garage anyway. So that is what I'm going to do. I don't want to mess up that paint booth, them filters yet. I want to save that for the show car hardtop. So, well, what I'm calling a show car. But that's the plan. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. And then as soon as I get that all done and set on the chassis, I can put the 4-door back in here and it's out of harm's way for the spring weather that's coming. I need to get the Monte Carlo SS out of the backyard, put it in the fenced area where that chassis is at. That way when all the springtime weather and all the rain comes, it'll make grass grow where the grass has been dead for 5 years where that car's been sitting in the backyard. So it's kind of one big thing I want to get done here, but it's probably going to be a couple weeks worth of work. So hopefully some of you is on board. Thanks for watching.